When 7-year-old Madison called for help during a rainstorm, she accidentally dialed a CEO's private number instead of 911. Benjamin Carter answered and found the call came from his late wife's old phone. Racing to a collapsing house, he discovered 2 starving children protecting their dying mother, Charlotte, his wife's best friend who vanished 15 years ago. This desperate rescue will uncover dangerous secrets and give everyone a second chance at family. Before this story begins, subscribe to the channel and type Amen in the comments. A beautiful piece of good news may come your way very soon. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. The rain hammered against the cracked windows of the small house on Riverside Street, each drop a reminder of how fragile their shelter had become. Madison pressed her face against the cold glass, watching the water pour through the holes in their ceiling, creating puddles that spread across the worn wooden floor like dark, expanding bruises. At 7 years old, she had learned to measure disasters by sound. The gentle patter meant they were safe, but this roaring torrent meant trouble. "Bella, don't cry," Madison whispered to her 2-year-old sister, who was wrapped in a purple cloth sling against her chest, exactly as their mother had taught her. The baby's tiny fingers clutched Madison's pink jacket, her blue eyes wide with confusion and fear. "I'll fix everything. I promise." Their mother, Charlotte, lay motionless on the sagging couch, her face pale as moonlight, her breathing shallow and labored. She had been sick for 3 days now, barely able to lift her head, let alone care for her daughters. The fever had taken hold with cruel efficiency, leaving her trapped in a semi-conscious state while her children struggled to survive around her. Madison's stomach growled painfully. The last of their food, stale crackers and a half can of beans, had been ruined when the roof started leaking 2 hours ago. Everything was wet, everything was cold. Everything was falling apart. She had tried to save the crackers, holding them above her head as water dripped onto her face, but it was useless. The rain had claimed everything. "Mama?" Madison called softly, approaching the couch. "Mama, I need help. What do I do?" Charlotte's eyelids fluttered but didn't open. Her lips moved slightly, forming words that never became sound. Madison felt tears burning her eyes but blinked them back furiously. Crying wouldn't help. Crying wouldn't feed Bella or fix the roof or make Mama better. Think, Madison. Think like a big girl. She remembered her mother's lessons about emergencies. "If something bad happens and I can't help you, baby, you call 911, you understand? 911. Charlotte had made her practice on the old cell phone, the one that barely held a charge, the one they kept for absolute emergencies because they couldn't afford a monthly plan. The phone. Where was the phone? Madison found it on the kitchen counter, its screen dark and seemingly dead. She pressed the power button and held her breath. After an agonizing moment, the screen flickered to life, showing 2% battery. Her heart pounded. This was it. Her one chance to save them all. With trembling fingers, she dialed the numbers. 911. But her small fingers, slippery with rainwater and nervous sweat, hit the wrong buttons. She didn't realize her mistake. She didn't know that instead of calling emergency services, she had accidentally dialed a number stored in the phone's ancient memory. A number that hadn't been called in over a decade. A number that once belonged to someone Charlotte had loved and lost. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Madison's voice shook as she spoke, her words tumbling out in a desperate rush when someone finally answered. "Daddy? Daddy, please help us. We're in the rain and everything is wet and Mama won't wake up and we don't have any food left. Not even the old crackers, and Bella is crying and I don't know what to do and I'm scared and—" Whoa, slow down. A deep male voice interrupted gently. "Sweetheart, I think you have the wrong number. I'm not your daddy." Madison's heart sank like a stone. Wrong number, she had messed up. She had failed. But I called 911. "No, honey, you called my personal line. Where are you? Where's your mother?" "She's sick. She won't wake up. And our house is breaking from all the rain and—" Madison's voice cracked, and despite her best efforts, tears began streaming down her cheeks, mixing with the rainwater already dampening her face. On the other end of the line, Benjamin Carter stood frozen in his downtown office 43 floors above the city, staring at his phone as if it had transformed into something otherworldly. This number, This specific phone was supposed to be dead. It was his late wife Victoria's emergency phone, the one he'd kept active for years after her death, unable to let go of that final connection. He paid the bill religiously every month, preserving it like a shrine, though no one had called it in 12 years. Until now. "Listen to me very carefully," Benjamin said, his voice taking on an authoritative calm that came from years of commanding boardrooms. "I'm going to help you, okay? But I need you to tell me exactly where you are. What's your address?" Madison rattled off the street name and number, her words interrupted by hiccuping sobs. Benjamin was already moving, grabbing his coat, barking orders at his assistant through the open office door. "Cancel everything, and get my car, now." "Sir, you have the Singapore investors in 20 minutes. I don't care if I have the president in 20 minutes. Get my car." Benjamin raced through the city streets with his driver, his mind spinning with impossible questions. How did a child have Victoria's number? Why now, after all these years? The phone's GPS was leading them to the poorest section of Riverside, an area he'd driven through 100 times without truly seeing, a neighborhood where hope seemed as scarce as the sunlight. When they pulled up to the address, Benjamin's breath caught in his throat. The house, if it could still be called that, was barely standing. One corner had partially collapsed under the weight of the storm. Boards hung at dangerous angles and water poured through visible holes in the roof. This wasn't just poverty. This was catastrophe. He jumped from the car before it fully stopped, his expensive Italian shoes splashing through puddles as he ran to the front door. It swung open before he could knock, revealing a sight that would be burned into his memory forever. A little girl with long blonde hair, drenched to the bone, wearing a bright pink jacket over torn jeans, holding a large leaf over her head like an umbrella. Strapped to her chest in a purple cloth carrier was a tiny baby with round, frightened eyes. "You came," Madison whispered, her voice filled with such pure relief that Benjamin felt something crack open in his chest, something he'd kept carefully locked away for 12 long years. "Of course I came," he said softly, kneeling in the puddle before her so they were eye level. "I promised, didn't I? Now let's get you and your sister somewhere safe and dry. Can you show me where your mother is?" Madison nodded and turned back into the house. Benjamin followed, his heart hammering not from exertion but from a growing sense of dread. Something about this situation felt cosmically wrong, as if he'd stumbled into a story that had been written long before this moment, with invisible ink only now becoming visible. The interior of the house was worse than he'd imagined. Water dripping everywhere, furniture that looked salvaged from dumpsters, walls with visible mold, and a cold that seemed to emanate from the very foundation. This was a place where survival was measured in days, not years. And then he saw her. And then the woman on the couch, pale and shivering, her long blonde hair matted against her fevered face, her features sharp with illness and deprivation. Benjamin felt the world tilt sideways, felt his knees threaten to buckle beneath him. No, it couldn't be. It was impossible. Charlotte. The name escaped his lips as barely a whisper, a prayer and an accusation all at once. The woman's eyes fluttered open, struggled to focus, and then widened with recognition and horror. "Ben? Oh God. Ben, no, you weren't supposed to. This isn't. I never wanted you to. You're alive." Benjamin's voice was hollow, shock rendering him almost mechanical. "All these years, Charlotte, we thought you were dead. We mourned you. Victoria mourned you. She never stopped looking for you, never stopped blaming herself for whatever fight you had. And you were here?" "I can explain." Charlotte tried to sit up but collapsed back, her strength completely depleted. "Mama!" Madison cried out, rushing to her mother's side. Benjamin snapped back to the present crisis, his questions temporarily buried under the more immediate need. "We need to get your mother to a hospital. Now." He pulled out his phone, already dialing his private physician. "Dr. Morrison, Benjamin Carter. I need you at Mercy General immediately. I'm bringing in a critical patient." "No!" Charlotte's voice cut through his words with surprising strength. "No hospitals, no records, please, Ben, I'm begging you. They'll find us. They'll take my girls. I'd rather die than let them." Who will find you?" Benjamin demanded. but Charlotte had already slipped back into semi-consciousness, her warning hanging in the air like smoke. Madison pulled on Benjamin's expensive coat sleeve. "Mister, is my mama going to die?" Benjamin looked down at the 7-year-old girl, at her brave face trying so hard not to crumble, at the baby sister she protected with such fierce devotion, and he made a decision that would alter the course of all their lives. "No, sweetheart, I won't let that happen. I'm going to take care of all of you now, but I need you to trust me, okay? Even when things seem scary, even when you don't understand what's happening, I need you to trust that I'm doing the right thing. Can you do that?" Madison studied his face with an intensity that seemed far too old for her years, as if she'd learned to read people as a survival skill. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. "Okay, I trust you. What's your name?" "Benjamin, but you can call me Ben." "Okay, Mr. Ben. I trust you." Within minutes, Benjamin had coordinated a small operation. His driver brought blankets from the car. His assistant, who'd followed in a second vehicle, began documenting the house's condition with photos. And Benjamin himself carefully lifted Charlotte from the couch, shocked by how light she was, how fragile, this woman, who'd once been Victoria's vivacious best friend, full of life and laughter. Madison gathered a few belongings in a small backpack, some clothes for herself and Bella, a worn stuffed rabbit, and a small wooden box she clutched protectively. "These are Mama's special things," she explained. "She says I have to keep them safe no matter what." As they loaded into Benjamin's car, Madison with Bella in her arms in the back seat beside her mother, the little girl looked back at the collapsing house one final time. "Are we coming back?" she asked quietly. Benjamin met her eyes in the rearview mirror. "No, Madison, you're never coming back here. I'm taking you somewhere safe. Somewhere warm and dry where you'll have food and beds and everything you need." "But what about Mama? You said no hospital." "I'm taking you to my home. I have a doctor who makes house calls. He'll take care of your mother there privately. No records, no questions, just healing." As they pulled away from Riverside Street, Benjamin glanced at Charlotte's unconscious form, at the two little girls who'd somehow ended up with his late wife's phone number, at the mysterious box Madison protected so carefully, and he knew with absolute certainty that nothing about this rescue was accidental. This was destiny reaching back through time, correcting some cosmic mistake, bringing together pieces of a puzzle he didn't even know existed. But the question that haunted him as they drove through the rain toward his estate was simple and terrifying. What secret was worth hiding in poverty for 15 years? What was Charlotte so afraid of that she'd rather die than seek help? And why did he have the growing, sickening feeling that the answer was connected to Victoria's death? The rain continued to fall as they left the broken neighborhood behind, washing away the past even as the future rushed toward them with the inevitability of a tidal wave. In the back seat, Madison whispered softly to her baby sister, "It's okay now, Bella. We're going to be okay. The Rain Man came to save us." But Benjamin, listening to those words, wondered if salvation was really what awaited them, or if he'd just opened a door that should have stayed locked forever. Benjamin's estate sat on 5 acres of manicured land in the exclusive Millbrook Heights, a world away from Riverside Street in every measurable way. The main house was a stunning example of modern architecture, all glass and steel and clean lines, designed to maximize natural light while maintaining absolute privacy. As the car pulled through the security gates, Madison pressed her face against the window, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Mr. Ben," she whispered, "do you live in a castle?" Despite the gravity of the situation, Benjamin felt a small smile tug at his lips. "Something like that, sweetheart." His household staff met them at the entrance, their professional composure barely masking their shock at seeing their employer arrive with an unconscious woman and 2 bedraggled children. Mrs. Patricia Hughes, his head housekeeper for the past 8 years, took charge immediately with the quiet efficiency that made her invaluable. "The East Wing guest suite, sir. It has the adjoining bedroom for the children." "Perfect, and get Dr. Morrison set up in there immediately. He should be arriving any minute." "Already here, actually," came a distinguished voice from the hallway. Dr. Richard Morrison, Benjamin's personal physician and old friend, approached with his medical bag. His sharp eyes took in the scene quickly, lingering on Charlotte's pale face with professional concern. "Let's get her upstairs immediately. How long has she been unconscious?" "On and off for the past hour," Benjamin replied, carrying Charlotte up the sweeping staircase with surprising gentleness. Before that, the daughter says she was barely responsive for 3 days. Madison and Bella followed closely, the older girl refusing to be separated from her family even for a moment. Mrs. Hughes tried to guide them to the children's room, offering hot chocolate and clean clothes, but Madison planted her feet stubbornly. "I need to stay with Mama." "Sweetheart, the doctor needs space to work," Mrs. Hughes began. "No." Madison's voice carried surprising authority for a 7-year-old. "Mama gets scared when she wakes up in strange places. She needs me." Benjamin intervened gently. "How about this? You can sit right outside the door where you can hear everything, and the moment the doctor is finished, you can come in. Deal?" Madison considered this, then nodded reluctantly. Mrs. Hughes efficiently produced a comfortable chair, pillows, and warm blankets, creating a little nest in the hallway. Within minutes, both girls were wrapped in soft white robes several sizes too large, sipping hot chocolate that Madison tested carefully before letting Bella have any, an action that spoke volumes about the responsibility this child had shouldered. Inside the bedroom, Dr. Morrison worked quickly, his examination thorough and increasingly concerned. Benjamin stood by the window watching the rain that had finally started to ease, his mind churning with memories and questions. "Ben," Dr. Morrison said quietly, "this woman is severely malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from pneumonia that's bordering on critical. I need to know, why aren't we at a hospital? What am I walking into here?" Benjamin turned from the window, his face shadowed. "Because she specifically begged me not to take her to one, said they would find her and take her children." "And you believed her?" "This could be paranoia from fever delirium." "I believed her because I knew her, Rich. 15 years ago, she was Victoria's best friend." "Doctor," Morrison's hand stilled on his stethoscope. "The friend who disappeared, Charlotte Morgan?" "Charlotte Morgan," Benjamin confirmed, "who apparently didn't disappear, just vanished into poverty so complete it might as well have been another dimension." "And the children?" "Hers. The older one is 7, the baby is 2. "Doctor." Morrison absorbed this information, then returned to his patient. "Well, mystery aside, she needs intensive care. I can keep her stable here, but it's going to require round-the-clock monitoring, IV antibiotics, and considerable medical supplies. This isn't a simple flu, Ben. She's been sick for a long time, and the malnutrition has compromised her immune system severely. If we don't intervene aggressively in the next 48 hours, we could lose her." The clinical phrase, "lose her," hit Benjamin like a physical blow. He'd already lost Charlotte once, had mourned her along with Victoria. The thought of losing her again, of having found her only to watch her slip away, was unbearable. And not just because of the children waiting outside. "Whatever you need," Benjamin said firmly. "Money, equipment, staff, whatever it takes to save her." Over the next several hours, Benjamin's home transformed into a private medical facility. Nurses arrived, medical equipment was installed, and Charlotte was hooked up to IVs that began pumping antibiotics and nutrients into her depleted body. Throughout it all, Madison maintained her vigil in the hallway, answering Dr. Morrison's gentle questions about her mother's symptoms with surprising accuracy. "You did a good job taking care of her," Dr. Morrison told the little girl. "A very good job. Not many kids your age would know to keep her hydrated or try to bring her fever down. Where'd you learn all that?" "Mama taught me," Madison replied simply. "She said I was her backup in case she ever got too sick to take care of us. She made me practice lots of times." The casual revelation was heartbreaking. A mother so convinced of imminent danger that she'd trained her 7-year-old daughter to be a caregiver. What kind of life had Charlotte been living? What had she been running from? As night fell over Millbrook Heights, the household settled into an unusual rhythm. Charlotte remained unconscious but stable, her breathing easier now with the oxygen support. Bella, exhausted from the day's trauma, had fallen asleep in a proper crib that Mrs. Hughes had somehow produced within an hour. But Madison refused to sleep, keeping her post in the hallway chair despite the late hour. Benjamin brought her a sandwich and juice, pulling up a chair beside her. You should rest, Madison. Your mother is in good hands. What if she wakes up and I'm not here? Madison's voice was small, tired, but stubborn. What if she thinks we left her? I'll sit with her, Benjamin offered. And if she so much as moves, I'll come get you immediately. Scout's honor. Madison studied him with those two old eyes. You promise? You won't lie? I promise. And I never break my promises. Mama says that too, but then sometimes she has to break them anyway because life is hard. Madison took a bite of her sandwich, chewing thoughtfully. Are you really rich, like in the movies? Benjamin couldn't help but smile at the direct question. I suppose I am, yes. Then why did you come help us? Rich people don't usually help people like us. Mama said they pretend we're invisible. The observation cut deep, all the more painful because it was largely true. How many times had Benjamin driven past poverty, had written checks to charities to assuage his conscience without actually seeing the faces of those suffering? If not for that impossible phone call, he would have remained willfully blind. Your mama knew my wife, Benjamin said carefully. A long time ago, they were very close, best friends. And then your mama went away, and my wife was very sad about that. She never stopped missing her. She never stopped wondering what happened. Is your wife here? Will she be happy to see Mama again? Benjamin felt his throat tighten. My wife died, Madison, 12 years ago. Oh. Madison was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. Dying is very sad. I hope my mama doesn't die. She won't, Benjamin said with more confidence than he felt. Dr. Morrison is the best. He'll make her better. And then what? After she's better, what happens to us? It was a question Benjamin had been avoiding, but the child's directness demanded honesty. I don't know yet, but I promise you this. You'll be safe. You'll have food and clothes and a warm place to sleep. No more rain coming through the roof. No more being cold or hungry. That part of your life is over. But why? Madison's voice cracked slightly. Why would you do all that for people you don't even know? Benjamin reached out slowly, giving Madison time to pull away if she wanted, and gently brushed a strand of blonde hair from her face. Because a very brave little girl called me in the rain and asked for help. And because I wasn't there when your mama needed help 15 years ago, but I'm here now. Does that make sense? Madison nodded slowly, her eyelids finally growing heavy. Mr. Ben, can I ask you something? Anything. When Mama wakes up, will she be mad that we're here? She always said we had to stay hidden, that it wasn't safe to let anyone know about us. Did I mess everything up by calling you? The question revealed so much. A child living in constant fear, trained to believe that visibility meant danger, that help was a trap rather than salvation. What had Charlotte told these girls? What was she protecting them from? You saved your family, Madison. You saved your mother's life, your sister's life, and maybe even your own. That's not messing up. That's being a hero. Madison's eyes filled with tears, perhaps the first time she'd allowed herself to fully feel the terror of the past few days. I was so scared. I thought Mama was going to die. I thought Bella and me would be all alone. Benjamin pulled the little girl into a gentle hug, feeling her small body shake with suppressed sobs. You're not alone anymore. I've got you. All of you. They sat like that for several minutes until Madison's breathing evened out into sleep. Benjamin carefully lifted her. She weighed almost nothing, and carried her to the bedroom where Bella slept peacefully. He tucked Madison into the second bed, pulling the covers up to her chin, and found himself studying her face in the dim nightlight. She looked remarkably like Charlotte had at that age. The same determined chin, the same expressive eyes, the same golden hair. But there was something else in her features too. Something that nagged at the edges of Benjamin's consciousness, but refused to come into focus. Returning to Charlotte's room, Benjamin relieved the night nurse for a moment of privacy. He pulled a chair close to the bed, studying the woman who'd haunted Victoria's nightmares and guilt for years. I don't know if you can hear me, Charlie, he said softly, using Victoria's old nickname for her. But you need to wake up. You need to explain what happened, where you've been, why you disappeared. Victoria died thinking she'd somehow driven you away, thinking your friendship ending was somehow her fault. She never knew. Whatever the truth is, she never got to know it. Charlotte's pale face remained peaceful, the oxygen mask fogging slightly with each breath. And those girls of yours? They're remarkable, Charlie. Madison is so brave, so protective. She reminds me of you at that age, fierce and stubborn and determined. Victoria would have loved being their aunt, would have spoiled them rotten. Benjamin's voice caught. You should have called us. Whatever trouble you were in, whatever you were running from, we would have helped. Why didn't you trust us? The only answer was the steady beep of the heart monitor and the gentle hiss of oxygen. Benjamin stayed through the night, dozing fitfully in the chair, waking at every small sound. Around 3 a.m, Charlotte stirred, her eyes fluttering open briefly. They landed on Benjamin, and for a moment, confusion gave way to recognition, then to something that looked remarkably like regret. Ben, she whispered, her voice barely audible through the oxygen mask. I'm sorry, so sorry, never wanted this. Shh, don't try to talk, you need to rest, get your strength back. The girls, are they? Safe. Sleeping in the next room. Both perfectly fine. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. But you have to. Be careful. He'll find out. He always finds out. Who, Charlotte, who are you afraid of? But she'd already slipped back into unconsciousness, her cryptic warning hanging in the air like a prophecy. As dawn broke over Millbrook Heights, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Benjamin stood at the window, watching the new day arrive. Behind him, Charlotte breathed steadily, her condition stabilized but far from resolved. In the next room, 2 little girls slept peacefully for perhaps the first time in their lives. And somewhere in this sprawling house, in the locked drawer of Benjamin's study, sat Victoria's old journals, the ones he'd never been able to bring himself to read after her death. The ones that might hold answers to questions he was only now learning to ask. What secret had driven Charlotte away? What had Victoria known or suspected? And why did Benjamin have the growing, inexorable feeling that the truth, when it finally emerged, would shatter everything he thought he knew about his past? The rain had stopped, but the storm Benjamin sensed was only beginning. 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. Charlotte's condition improved slowly under Dr. Morrison's care. Her fever broke, her breathing strengthened, and consciousness returned in longer, more coherent intervals. But each time Benjamin tried to ask about the past, about what had happened 15 years ago, Charlotte would become agitated, her heart rate spiking on the monitors until he backed off, promising they could talk later, when she was stronger. Madison and Bella, meanwhile, adapted to their new environment with a mixture of wonder and wariness. Mrs. Hughes had taken them shopping for clothes that actually fit, for shoes without holes, for toys and books that Madison approached with almost religious reverence. The little girl would spend hours in the estate's library, reading picture books to Bella, her finger carefully tracing each word as if committing them to memory. She's never had access to books before, Charlotte had whispered to Benjamin during one of her lucid moments, watching her daughters through the doorway. We couldn't afford them. The library was too far to walk with both girls. I tried to teach her from food labels and street signs, but her voice had broken then, shame and regret painting her pale features. Benjamin had discovered that Madison, despite never attending formal school, could read at a level far beyond her age. Charlotte had taught her using whatever materials they could find, scavenging newspapers from trash bins, memorizing billboards during their rare trips outside the neighborhood. The girl's hunger for learning was almost desperate, as if she understood intuitively that knowledge was a ladder out of the pit her mother had fallen into. On the 4th morning, Benjamin found Madison in the library again, this time staring at a framed photograph on the bookshelf, a picture from better days, showing Benjamin and Victoria at their wedding, laughing as confetti rained down around them. Standing beside Victoria, serving as her maid of honor, was a younger Charlotte Morgan, radiant in a blue dress, her smile genuine and bright. "That's my mama," Madison said quietly, not looking away from the photo. "She looks so happy. I've never seen her look like that in real life. Only in the pictures from her special box. The wooden box you brought from the house? Benjamin asked. Madison nodded. She keeps it under her pillow always. Sometimes at night when she thinks Bella and I are sleeping, I hear her crying while she looks at the things inside. But she never lets me see what they are. Benjamin's curiosity intensified. What was in that box? What pieces of Charlotte's past had she clung to through years of deprivation? Where is the box now? In Mama's room, under her pillow like always. I put it there so she'd know I kept it safe. That afternoon, while Charlotte was sleeping and the nurses were on break, Benjamin found himself standing beside her bed, staring at the slight bump beneath her pillow. It would be so easy to look, to satisfy his burning questions about what had happened to fracture their friend group so completely. But he didn't. Some boundary of privacy and respect held him back, even as his fingers itched to reach under that pillow. Charlotte's secrets were hers to reveal, on her own terms, when she was ready. The decision not to invade her privacy was rewarded later that evening when Charlotte, finally strong enough to sit up with pillows supporting her, asked to speak with him privately. The girls? She asked first, as she always did. Bella is taking a bath with Mrs. Hughes. Madison is teaching herself chess from a book she found. She's already beaten the computer on easy mode twice. A ghost of a smile crossed Charlotte's face. She's so smart, Ben, smarter than I ever was. She deserves better than what I've given her. They both do. Then tell me how to help you. Tell me what you're running from so I can protect you all. Charlotte's smile faded. She was quiet for so long that Benjamin thought she might refuse again, might retreat back into her protective silence. But finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you remember Jason Whitmore? The name hit Benjamin like a punch to the gut. Jason Whitmore, venture capitalist, old family money, smooth smile and cold eyes. He and Benjamin had moved in the same social circles 15 years ago, had competed for deals and influence. Benjamin had never liked the man, had sensed something predatory beneath the polished exterior. But there had been no proof, nothing concrete to justify his instincts. I remember, Benjamin said carefully. What does he have to do with you? Everything. Charlotte's hands twisted the blanket nervously. He has everything to do with why I disappeared, why I've been hiding, why I'd rather die in that collapsing house than risk being found. She took a shaky breath and continued, her words tumbling out as if a dam had finally burst. 15 years ago, Jason pursued me relentlessly. He was charming at first, attentive, generous. I was flattered, I was stupid. By the time I realized what he really was, controlling, possessive, dangerous, I was already trapped. He was abusive? Benjamin's voice was hard. Worse than that. He was calculating. He never left marks where people could see them. He isolated me from friends gradually, so subtly that I didn't realize it until Victoria and I had that terrible fight. Jason had orchestrated it, had manipulated both of us. Victoria died never knowing he'd twisted her words, had lied to both of us to drive us apart. Benjamin felt sick. Victoria had been tormented by that fight, had blamed herself for whatever she'd said that drove Charlotte away. To know it had been manipulation. I tried to leave him multiple times, Charlotte continued, her voice strengthening. But he had connections, police, judges, social workers. He threatened to have me declared mentally unfit, institutionalized. I believed him. I'd seen his power. So I stayed, planning my escape carefully. One night, 7.5 years ago, when Jason was away on business, I finally ran. I took nothing but the clothes on my back and what little cash I'd hidden. I changed my name, dyed my hair, moved to Riverside, the last place anyone with money would look. I found cash work cleaning houses, never staying anywhere long. Charlotte's hands twisted the blanket. I was free, Ben. Terrified but free. I thought I'd escaped. Then, 6 months after I ran, I discovered I was pregnant. Jason's child. I was horrified at first, but Madison. Her voice softened. Madison saved me, gave me purpose. I didn't register her birth officially, no social security number, no hospital records. She doesn't legally exist. It was the only way to keep her safe from him. The implications were staggering. And Bella? Charlotte's face clouded with fresh pain. 2 years ago, I thought I was safe. I thought enough time had passed that Jason had moved on. I met someone, a good man, kind, who didn't ask too many questions about my past. We were together for 6 months, but I was careless. I let my guard down, and somehow Jason found out. He came after you? Worse. He killed Mark, the man I'd been seeing. Made it look like an accident, but I knew. The message was clear. Then he vanished again, like a ghost, leaving me to figure out I was pregnant with Mark's baby. I've been moving within Riverside ever since, never staying in one place more than a few months, always looking over my shoulder. Benjamin processed this horror story, his mind racing with rage and disbelief. Charlotte, if what you're saying is true, we need to go to the police. Get protection. No! Charlotte grabbed his arm with surprising strength. You don't understand. Jason isn't just rich, he's connected. He has half the police force on his payroll. The last time I tried to get help 15 years ago, the officer I spoke to called Jason directly. I barely escaped. Since then, he's only gotten more powerful. He's untouchable, Ben. Completely untouchable. No one is untouchable. There are laws, protections for people in your situation. Laws are for people who have identities, Ben. I don't legally exist, my daughters don't exist, we're ghosts, and if Jason ever finds out about them... Charlotte's voice broke completely. He'll take them. He'll take my girls and I'll never see them again, or worse, I can't even say it. I can't let that happen. I'd rather die. I'd rather they think I'm dead than risk him finding them. The desperation in her voice was palpable, the fear real and deep. Benjamin sat back, trying to think through the impossible situation. Why did you keep Victoria's old emergency phone? That's how Madison reached me. She dialed what she thought was 911, but actually called that number. Charlotte closed her eyes. I found it after Victoria died. At her funeral, I was there, Ben, hiding in the back wearing a disguise. I needed to say goodbye, even if from a distance. Afterward, I went to our old meeting spot in the park, and I found a package she'd left there. Inside was her emergency phone and a letter. She wrote that if I ever needed help, to call that number. She'd kept it active for me, hoping I'd reach out someday, but I never did. I was too afraid. And now she's gone, and I never got to tell her. I never got to apologize or explain or... The grief and regret were overwhelming. Benjamin found himself grieving anew for Victoria, imagining her keeping that phone line active year after year, hoping her lost friend would call, never losing faith even when everyone else had given up. But I kept the phone charged, Charlotte whispered. It was my connection to her, to the life I'd lost. I told Madison if there was ever an emergency when I couldn't help, to dial 911 on that phone. I never dreamed she'd actually have to use it. I never imagined it would lead her to you. Maybe Victoria knew, Benjamin said softly. Maybe some part of her knew that someday, somehow, that phone would bring you back to safety. They sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of the revelation settling between them. Finally, Benjamin spoke with quiet determination. Jason Whitmore won't find you here. My security is state-of-the-art, and more importantly, there's no trail connecting you to me. As far as anyone knows, you're still ghosts. But Charlotte, we can't live in hiding forever. Your daughters deserve to exist, to have identities, to go to school and have normal lives. We need a long-term plan. What kind of plan? Charlotte asked warily. Benjamin's eyes hardened with resolve. The kind where we stop running and start fighting back, but first you need to fully recover. And I need to do some research, make some calls to people I trust. Will you trust me to do this? Will you let me help you the way Victoria would have wanted? Charlotte studied his face for a long moment, searching for something. Sincerity, perhaps. Or strength. Whatever she found there must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay. I'll trust you. But Ben, you need to understand what you're getting into. Jason Whitmore is dangerous. He's vindictive. If he finds out you're harboring me, he'll come after you too. He'll destroy you. Your company, your reputation, everything. Let him try, Benjamin said grimly. I've built my empire on legitimate means. I have nothing to hide and nothing to fear from him. And unlike you, I have resources, lawyers, and connections of my own. If it comes to a fight, I'm ready for it. Why? Charlotte asked softly. Why would you risk all that for us? We're nothing to you. Benjamin stood, walking to the window where rain had started falling again. A gentle patter this time, not the violent storm that had brought them together. You're not nothing. You're Victoria's friend. You're a mother trying to protect her children. And those girls in the next room, they called me in the rain asking for help. I'm not the kind of man who turns his back on that. Not anymore. What he didn't say, what he barely admitted to himself, was that in the 4 days since Madison and Bella had entered his life, something in him had awakened. His home, empty for 12 years except for staff and occasional business dinners, suddenly felt alive again. Madison's laughter when she discovered the library, Bella's happy babbling over breakfast. Even Charlotte's presence, complicated as it was, filled some void he'd forgotten existed. Get some rest, Benjamin said gently. Dr. Morrison wants you walking around the room tomorrow if you're up for it. Baby steps toward recovery. As he reached the door, Charlotte called out one more time. Ben, thank you for everything, for not turning us away, for believing me, for caring. He paused, looking back at the woman who'd somehow stumbled back into his life, carrying secrets and children and a whole universe of pain. Thank you for surviving, Charlie. Victoria would be so glad you're alive. So am I. That night, alone in his study, Benjamin pulled out his laptop and began researching Jason Whitmore. What he found in 3 hours of digging made his blood run cold. Whitmore had indeed become even more powerful. His venture capital firm now controlled significant portions of tech startups, real estate ventures, and, oddly, several private security companies. There were rumors, nothing concrete, but whispers about his involvement in activities that skirted the edges of legality. More troubling were the patterns Benjamin noticed in the gossip columns and society pages. Over the past 15 years, at least 3 women who'd been romantically linked to Whitmore had disappeared. Not dramatically, just faded from public view. None had filed complaints. None had made accusations. They simply ceased to exist in the social circles they'd once inhabited, just like Charlotte had. Benjamin sat back, his mind churning with dark possibilities. How many women had Whitmore terrorized into silence? How many lives had he destroyed with his combination of wealth, connections, and calculated cruelty? A knock on the study door interrupted his thoughts. Mrs. Hughes peered in apologetically. I'm sorry to disturb you, sir, but Madison is asking for you. She woke from a nightmare and won't settle unless she confirms you're still here. Benjamin followed her to the girls' room where Madison sat up in bed, clutching the worn stuffed rabbit, her face streaked with tears. Bella, miraculously, still slept soundly in the crib. Mr. Ben, Madison whispered, I dreamed the bad man found us and you sent us away. Benjamin sat on the edge of her bed, his heart aching at the fear in her voice. I will never send you away, Madison. You and Bella and your mama are safe here. I promise you that. But what if the bad man comes? Mama says he always finds us eventually. Then I'll deal with him, and Madison, listen to me. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You don't have to protect everyone by yourself. That's my job now. You're just a kid. You're supposed to read books and play and learn and be happy. Can you try to do that? Madison considered this revolutionary concept. I don't know how to just be a kid. I've always had to be careful, had to watch out for Bella, had to make sure Mama was okay. Then I'll teach you, Benjamin said gently. Starting tomorrow, we're going to start teaching you how to be 7 years old instead of 27. Deal? A small, tentative smile crossed Madison's face. Deal. Can I ask you something, Mr. Ben? Always. If you're not our daddy, and Mama says our real daddy is gone forever, can you maybe be like a daddy? Just pretend? The question hit Benjamin with unexpected force. In the days since the rain call, he hadn't let himself think too deeply about what role he was playing in these girls' lives. Rescuer, protector, provider. But father? That was something else entirely, something permanent. Something that came with responsibilities that terrified him. But looking at Madison's hopeful face, at the vulnerability she rarely let show, Benjamin found himself nodding. I'd be honored to be like a daddy to you and Bella, if that's what you want, and if your mama is okay with it. She will be, Madison said with surprising confidence. I heard her telling the doctor that you're a good man. Mama doesn't say that about anybody. Usually, she says men are dangerous. Most men aren't dangerous, Benjamin corrected gently. But the ones who are can be very dangerous indeed. Your mama learned that the hard way. But she's safe now. You all are. Madison lay back down, apparently satisfied. Mr. Ben, will you read me a story? Mama used to make them up, but she's too sick still. Benjamin selected a book from the shelf, a beautifully illustrated fairy tale about a princess who saved herself, and read until Madison's breathing evened into sleep. As he quietly left the room, he caught sight of Charlotte standing in her doorway, supported by a walker, watching him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. You're good with her, Charlotte said softly. Natural. She's an easy kid to be good to, Benjamin replied. Brilliant, brave, and kind despite everything she's been through. You raised her well, Charlotte. I raised her scared, Charlotte countered sadly. I taught her to hide, to be afraid, to trust no one. That's not parenting. That's survival training. It kept her alive. It kept both of them alive. That's more than many parents manage in far easier circumstances. They stood there in the quiet hallway, two people bound together by tragedy and happenstance, by a dead woman's love and a child's desperate phone call in the rain. Tomorrow, Benjamin said, we start planning your future instead of just surviving your past. Dr. Morrison says you're strong enough now for real conversations. So tomorrow we figure out how to make you and the girls legally exist again, how to protect you permanently, and how to make sure Jason Whitmore never casts a shadow over your life again. Agreed? Charlotte nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Agreed. And Ben? Thank you for reading to Madison. She needs that normalcy, needs to feel like a regular kid. I'm glad you're here to give her that. As Benjamin returned to his study, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The past 4 days had been about immediate crisis management, saving Charlotte's life, stabilizing the situation, providing basic safety and comfort. But tomorrow would be about something much bigger, dismantling Jason Whitmore's power over them and building a future none of them had dared to imagine. The rain had brought them together. Now it was time to see if they could weather the storm that was surely coming. In her room, Charlotte pulled out the small wooden box from under her pillow, her fingers tracing its worn edges. Inside were treasures from another life. Victoria's letter, a few photographs, and something else, something she hadn't shown Benjamin yet. Something that would change everything when she finally found the courage to reveal it. But not tonight. Tonight, for the first time in 15 years, Charlotte Morgan fell asleep feeling something she'd forgotten existed. Hope. 2 weeks passed in a rhythm that felt almost surreal. Charlotte grew stronger each day, graduating from walker to cane to finally walking unassisted. Color returned to her cheeks, and the haunted look in her eyes gradually softened, though it never fully disappeared. Madison and Bella blossomed in ways that broke and healed hearts simultaneously. Mrs. Hughes had taken them under her wing, teaching Madison to bake and reading endless books to Bella. The younger child's vocabulary exploded. She went from 10 words to full sentences, her personality emerging like a flower given sunlight. Benjamin had hired a tutor to assess Madison's education level. Professor Janet Collins emerged from their first session looking stunned. Mr. Carter, that child reads at 10th grade level. Her mathematical reasoning is extraordinary. She taught herself basic algebra from your library, in 3 days. I've taught gifted children for 20 years, and I've never encountered a mind quite like hers. The assessment filled Benjamin with both pride and rage. Pride at Madison's resilience, rage at the years stolen by one man's cruelty. His investigation into Whitmore had expanded with attorney Marcus Stevenson and investigator Sarah Chen. What they'd uncovered was damning, a pattern spanning 2 decades, multiple disappeared women and financial irregularities suggesting fraud. The financial crimes we can prove, Marcus explained. The abuse is harder without testimony. Charlotte won't testify, Benjamin said firmly. There has to be another way. There might be, Sarah said. I've identified 6 women involved with Whitmore. 3 are unreachable, but 3 are accessible. If even one talks, combined with background information from Charlotte, we might build a case. It was during the 3rd week that the first breakthrough came, and the first complication. Sir, there's someone at the gate. Mrs. Hughes announced urgently. A woman asking for Charlotte by name. Charlotte's face paled. I don't have a sister. It's a trap. But the security footage showed a blonde woman in her mid-30s, designer suit, eyes red from crying. That's Rachel Whitmore, Charlotte whispered. Jason's younger sister. Against better judgment, Benjamin authorized Rachel's entry with security standing by. She entered and immediately dropped to her knees, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought you'd just left him. I didn't know he'd been hunting you until 2 days ago. Charlotte remained frozen. What happened 2 days ago? Rachel steadied herself. I found files in Jason's safe, folders on every woman he'd controlled, surveillance reports, photographs. Charlotte, your folder was thickest. He's been tracking you this entire time. He knows about your daughters. The room erupted. He knows about Madison and Bella, Charlotte whispered. Rachel nodded miserably. He's been waiting, watching. He wanted you to suffer. He's planning to take the girls when they're older to prove even your children belong to him. Benjamin felt physically ill at the sociopathic calculation. Why tell us now? Marcus demanded. Rachel's voice broke. Because I found one more folder. My daughter. Jason's collecting information on my 6-year-old Catherine. The same pattern. He's already planning. She couldn't finish. Charlotte moved then, kneeling beside Rachel. Your daughter is safe? With my ex-husband in Boston. I sent her this morning. Then I grabbed everything from Jason's safe and ran. Rachel looked desperate. I know I have no right to ask, but please, help me stop him before he touches anyone else. Before he touches my baby. Charlotte wrestled with the decision. Then her maternal instincts won. What's in the envelope? Rachel's hands shook. Copies of everything. Surveillance reports, financial records, and recorded phone calls. Jason kept recordings of himself threatening people, bragging. He documented his own crimes like trophies. Marcus practically lunged forward. This is admissible, with witness testimony. There's more, Rachel interrupted. I know where he keeps originals. His security codes, passwords, everything. And he's in Singapore for 72 hours. His house will be nearly empty. Sarah Chen leaned forward. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I'm suggesting that if law enforcement received an anonymous tip and had cause to execute a search warrant, they might find years of evidence documenting abuse, fraud, and intimidation. That's risky, Marcus warned. It won't go wrong, Rachel said with sudden steel. Jason taught me how to cover tracks. He never imagined I'd use those skills against him. This is our chance, while he's out of the country, while we have access to everything. Charlotte's face showed determination. Do it, not just for us, for all the others, for Rachel's daughter. We end this now. The next 48 hours were a blur. Sarah worked law enforcement contacts. Marcus assembled a legal team. Rachel provided detailed layouts and testimony. Charlotte recorded a statement describing her years with Jason, his threats, the pattern of control. Benjamin used every connection to ensure the investigation couldn't be buried. He contacted trusted journalists, prepared press releases, and set up a legal fund for victims. Madison, aware something important was happening, asked Benjamin, Are you stopping the bad man? We're trying, sweetheart. Good. After you stop him, can we stay here? With you? I like having a pretend daddy who reads stories. Benjamin hugged her. You can stay as long as you want. This is your home now. On the 3rd day, federal agents raided Whitmore's properties. They found files on victims, evidence of tax evasion, money laundering, witness intimidation, and obstruction of justice. Whitmore, informed while in Singapore, tried to flee. His attempt triggered international warrants and confirmed guilt. The media erupted. Within hours, major outlets ran stories about the venture capitalist whose empire was built on cruelty. Rachel's testimony, with Charlotte's identity protected, provided devastating accounts. By the fourth day, Jason Whitmore was in custody, assets frozen, life in ruins. Benjamin gathered everyone that evening. "It's over," Marcus announced. "Whitmore's denied bail. The prosecutor is confident. He's looking at minimum 15 years. Charlotte sat very still. "He can't come after us?" "His network is being dismantled," Sarah assured her. "With this publicity, any retaliation would be scrutinized. You're safe, Charlotte. For the first time in 15 years, you're actually safe." The words took a moment to penetrate. Then Charlotte collapsed in sobs, 15 years of tension finally releasing. Benjamin found Madison reading to Bella later. "Mr. Ben, is the bad man gone?" "The bad man is gone. Your mama doesn't have to be scared anymore." Madison processed this seriously. "Does that mean I can go to real school?" "It means you can do anything you want, Madison. Then I want to stay here and learn things and have a pretend daddy and help mama be happy again. Is that okay?" "That's perfect," Benjamin said, emotion tightening his throat. That night, Benjamin found Charlotte staring at Victoria's photograph. "I never got to tell her I was sorry," Charlotte said softly. "She died thinking I'd abandoned our friendship. Victoria knew you loved her. That's why she kept that phone active. In a way, she saved you even after she was gone." Charlotte smiled through tears. "She brought us to you." They stood in comfortable silence. "Ben," Charlotte said eventually, "I need to tell you something." She pulled a photograph from her pocket, Victoria and Charlotte together, Victoria's hand on Charlotte's pregnant belly. "This was taken a week before I disappeared. Victoria knew I was pregnant, knew about Jason, knew I was planning to run. She wanted to help, but I refused. I didn't want her in danger." Benjamin studied it, seeing Victoria's protectiveness. "Madison isn't just my daughter. Victoria was going to be her godmother. We had it planned. Aunt Vicky, teaching Madison everything. When Madison called you saying, 'Daddy,' maybe it wasn't really an accident. Maybe Victoria found a way to give her the protection we'd planned, just 15 years late." The revelation shifted Benjamin's understanding of his role. He was fulfilling Victoria's promise. "Does Madison know about Victoria?" "I'll tell her when she's older. Right now she knows you're her pretend daddy who came in the rain. That's enough." "And what about you? What happens now?" Charlotte turned to face him. "I start over, really start over. Legal documentation, proper identity, find work, give my daughters the life they deserve." "You could stay here," Benjamin offered. "Permanently. This house needs a family. Ben, I can't just move into your life and expect you to support us forever. These past 3 weeks have been the first time this house felt like a home since Victoria died." Madison's laughter, Bella's giggles, even you healing. "It's made me realize I've been existing, not living. If you're willing, I'd like to do this properly. As a family." Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "You barely know us. I know Madison is brilliant and brave. Bella lights up every room. You survived 15 years of hell, still capable of love. That's enough. What about when the novelty wears off?" Benjamin stepped closer. "Then I'll still be here. I'm not offering to be pretend anything. I'm offering to be real, really here, really committed, really part of your lives if you'll have me." The moment stretched. Finally, Charlotte nodded. "We'll stay. But I contribute. I won't be dependent. And if this stops working, you tell me. No guilt. Agreed?" "Agreed," Benjamin said, though he couldn't imagine wanting them to leave. 3 months later, Benjamin watched through a window as Madison participated in her first day of actual school. Professor Collins had helped navigate creating legal documentation, birth certificates, social security numbers, medical records. Marcus had guided them through every step. Madison, enrolled as a 3rd grader despite never attending school, was thriving. Benjamin watched her solve problems that stumped older students, read with confidence, and cautiously begin making friends. "She's extraordinary," Principal Anderson said. "In 30 years, I've never seen a child adapt so quickly." "She's been through a lot," Benjamin said quietly. which makes her resilience remarkable. She must have had excellent support. Benjamin thought about Charlotte's strength. She has an incredible mother and a dedicated father. The enrollment forms list you as guardian. That's quite a commitment. Biology doesn't make a family, Benjamin replied. Love does. Showing up does. By those measures, Madison and Bella are absolutely my daughters. Formal adoption proceedings had begun. Charlotte initially resisted, but Benjamin was adamant. He wanted to be their father legally and emotionally. This protects them, he'd told Charlotte. If anything happens to you, they're secure. They have a legal parent. Charlotte had agreed, her eyes full of gratitude and something else, something growing between them slowly and carefully. They hadn't named it yet. Both were too cautious, too aware of needing to prioritize the children. But it was there, undeniable, in Charlotte's face lighting up when Benjamin came home, in their accidentally on purpose touching hands, in conversations stretching past midnight. Benjamin's phone buzzed. How's our girl doing? He smiled at our girl and typed, She's perfect, making friends, no need to worry. Already planning to be there at pickup. And Ben, thank you for everything. The board meeting he'd been dreading awaited. Since the Whitmore scandal, Benjamin's involvement had made him controversial in certain circles. Some praised his courage. Others questioned his judgment. 2 board members resigned. 3 major deals fell through. His company's stock took a temporary hit. Benjamin didn't care. Not even a little. He'd gladly sacrifice every deal if it meant Madison could go to school safely, Bella could grow up without fear, and Charlotte could breathe freely. The meeting was contentious. 3 hours of discussion about whether Benjamin's personal life had become a liability. Finally, Benjamin had enough. Gentlemen, he stood, commanding attention. I built this company from nothing. I made everyone here wealthy. I've never made a major decision based on emotion rather than strategy. But I learned something. There are things more important than quarterly earnings. There are lines that shouldn't be crossed, people who shouldn't be abandoned. He paused, meeting each member's eyes. If my decision to protect my family makes me a liability, I invite you to leave. I won't apologize for having priorities beyond this boardroom. The right partners will understand that a man who stands up for his family is exactly who they want to work with. Silence. Then his CFO began clapping. Others joined. Not everyone, but enough. After the meeting, his CFO said, That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Benjamin admitted. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. The board will settle. You'll attract partners who share your values. And if it doesn't work out, then you'll still have something more valuable, a family that loves you. Not everyone gets a second chance at that. Benjamin thought about those words driving to pickup. A second chance at happiness. The parking lot was chaos. Benjamin spotted Madison immediately, running toward him with a huge smile. Mr. Ben, I made a friend. Her name is Sophie and she likes books, and the teacher said I could help with math, and I got a gold star and… Benjamin scooped her up, spinning her. That's wonderful, I'm so proud. Daddy, Bella's voice called. Charlotte approached with the toddler. Bella had recently started using daddy for Benjamin. The word hit him in the chest every time. There's my other girl, he said, taking Bella. Did you have fun today? We went to the park. I swung so high. She was fearless, Charlotte added, smiling. They made quite a picture. Benjamin in his rumpled suit holding both girls while Charlotte stood close, her hand on his shoulder. A family. Ice cream, Madison suggested. To celebrate? Ice cream sounds perfect, Benjamin agreed. At the ice cream shop, Madison announced, This is my pretend daddy, but he's going to be my real daddy soon because we're doing adoption papers. The woman smiled. That's wonderful, honey. He always picks chocolate, Madison said confidently. Benjamin raised eyebrows. How do you know? I pay attention. That's how you learn about people. You watch and remember. Mama taught me that. It spoke volumes about how Madison learned to survive, by reading people, noticing patterns, staying alert. That evening, after the girls were in bed, Benjamin and Charlotte sat on the patio watching sunset. I got an offer today, Charlotte said quietly, for a job. Benjamin tried ignoring worry. That's great, what kind? Rachel wants me to work with her. She's starting a foundation, support services for abuse survivors, legal advocacy, resource coordination. She wants me to help run it, to use my experience to help others. Rachel had become an unexpected ally, testifying at Whitmore's trial and committing her wealth to making amends. That sounds meaningful, Benjamin said carefully. How do you feel? Terrified, but also excited. I've spent 15 years hiding, surviving, taking all that pain and turning it into something good. It's appealing and scary. The foundation will be based here in the city, Charlotte continued. Rachel's setting up the main office downtown. It means I'd be working full-time, but still close to home, close to you and the girls. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. You'd uproot your life for us? I'd do it for you. Because somewhere in these months you stopped being Victoria's friend I was helping and became someone essential. Someone I can't imagine my life without. Ben, I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I know trust doesn't come easy, but I need you to know, when I think about my future, you're in it. You and Madison and Bella. For a long moment, Charlotte stared at him. Then, slowly, she leaned forward and kissed him. Gentle, tentative, but unmistakably real. When they pulled apart, both were breathless. I thought you'd never. Charlotte started. I wasn't sure if you'd want. Benjamin said simultaneously. They laughed, tension breaking. So what happens now? Charlotte asked carefully. Now we figure this out, together. Take it slow, see how things develop. Tell the girls the pretend part is becoming real. Whatever happens, we do it honestly. As a family, Charlotte amended. As a family, Benjamin agreed. They sat under stars, hands intertwined, talking until night grew cold. As they said goodnight at bedroom doors, still maintaining separate spaces, Benjamin felt certainty settle over him. This was his second chance, not at replacing Victoria, but building something new and equally precious. The rain had brought them together. Now it was time to see what they could build in sunshine. 6 months later, Benjamin stood in a courthouse in Millbrook County, Madison and Bella in matching blue dresses, Charlotte radiant in cream. Today was adoption day. Judge Patricia Reynolds reviewed paperwork carefully, asking about living arrangements and the children's welfare. Do you want Mr. Carter to adopt you? The judge asked Madison. Yes, ma'am. Madison replied clearly. He's already my daddy in all the important ways. This just makes it official. What are the important ways? Madison considered seriously. He keeps us safe. He helps with homework. He reads stories even when tired. He listens when I'm worried. He makes Bella laugh. He makes Mama smile. He's patient and kind and keeps promises. Those are the important daddy ways. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. I agree, young lady. And you, Miss Bella? Bella nodded enthusiastically from Charlotte's lap. He's already my daddy. Today we make it extra official. The judge laughed. Well then, it's settled. I'm pleased to grant this adoption. She signed with flourish. Congratulations. You are now legally the father of Madison and Bella Morgan Carter. The hyphenated name had been Charlotte's idea, honoring both biological heritage and new family. After the hearing, they took photographs, official ones and personal ones, with everyone laughing. Rachel joined them, having flown in specifically for this. Who would have thought, Rachel said privately to Benjamin, that my brother's cruelty would lead to something so beautiful? How are you doing? Benjamin asked. Better. Therapy helps. Knowing Jason is in prison helps. Watching Catherine grow up safe helps most. And the foundation work gives meaning to the nightmare. The foundation is doing incredible work, Benjamin said. Charlotte had become their public face, helping survivors understand they weren't alone. She's remarkable, Rachel said, watching Charlotte laugh. I don't know how she survived and came out still capable of kindness. She is broken in places, Benjamin said quietly. Nightmares, flinching at loud noises, checking locks obsessively. But she's healing. She's teaching me that healing isn't becoming who you were before. It's becoming someone new who incorporates both pain and strength. Later, at their home in Millbrook Heights, Benjamin's mother Eleanor hosted celebration dinner. Eleanor had been skeptical initially. Single woman, 2 children, complicated history. But meeting them changed everything. "That Madison is brilliant," Eleanor declared, 7 years old discussing philosophy. "She keeps us on our toes," Benjamin agreed. "And Bella is pure joy." Eleanor studied her son. "You look truly happy, Benjamin. I haven't seen you like this since before Victoria." "I am happy, Mom. More than I thought I'd be again." After dinner, while Eleanor entertained the girls, Benjamin and Charlotte found themselves alone doing dishes. "Your mom is wonderful," Charlotte said. "She loves the girls. You should hear her bragging about her new granddaughters." Charlotte's eyes misted. "I never thought. When I was in that collapsing house, I couldn't have imagined this. A family, community, people who care because they want to." "It's real," Benjamin assured her. "All of it." "It's real, Charlie." She looked up. "What are we, Ben? To each other?" The question they'd been dancing around for months. "I know what I want us to be," Benjamin said carefully. "Ben," Charlotte interrupted, "I spent 15 years afraid to want anything. But watching Madison and Bella thrive, working at the foundation, it's teaching me hope isn't weakness. So I'm going to be brave. I want you, us, a real relationship. I want to stop pretending and admit I fell in love with you." Benjamin cupped her face gently. "I fell in love with you the night you thanked me for reading to Madison. I realized you were trusting me with your treasures. I've been in love for months. I was just waiting for you to be ready." This kiss was different. Certain, passionate, full of promise. "So what now?" Charlotte asked. "Whatever we want," Benjamin replied. "That's the beautiful thing about second chances. But I have a suggestion." He pulled out a small box containing 2 keys on a house-shaped keychain. "Keys to the Millbrook house. I had it transferred into joint ownership, yours, mine, and a trust for the girls. It's not a proposal yet, but it's a statement. This is your home. You belong there." Charlotte took the keys with shaking hands, understanding the significance. Not just property, permanence, commitment. "Thank you for everything, for coming when Madison called, for protecting us, for loving my daughters, for loving me. Thank you for trusting me, for being brave enough to accept help, for letting me be part of your lives, for giving me a reason to be more than just a businessman." From the living room, "Are you two hiding in the kitchen all night, or are we cutting this cake?" Charlotte laughed, wiping tears. "We should go." "Wait," Benjamin said. "One more thing. I know it's soon, but Charlotte Morgan Carter, when you're ready, not now, not tomorrow, but someday, would you consider making this official? Marriage, partnership, whatever feels right." Charlotte's smile was radiant. "Yes, not today because we're still figuring things out and the girls need adjustment time. But someday, absolutely yes." They joined the celebration where Madison explained proper cake-cutting fairness and Bella wore more frosting than she'd eaten. As Benjamin watched his family, he thought about the impossible chain of events. A phone kept active for a decade, a little girl's panicked call, a woman's desperate need finally overcoming fear, a man lonely enough to answer and brave enough to get involved. Fate? Coincidence? He didn't know or care. What mattered was they were here, building something beautiful from past ruins. Madison caught his eye and signed "I love you" in the sign language he'd been teaching. He signed back, watching her face light up. That night, on the estate's back patio overlooking the manicured gardens, Charlotte curled against Benjamin's side. "Do you ever wonder what Victoria would think?" Charlotte asked. "Every day. I think she'd be happy. She always believed in second chances. I wish she could meet Madison and Bella." "She does love them," Benjamin said with certainty. "Because without her keeping that phone active, without her note, none of this would have happened. Victoria brought us together. This is her gift, especially to girls who needed a father. They didn't just get anyone, they got you. Victoria would be proud." Charlotte spoke again thoughtfully. "You know what I realized today?" "What's that?" "Rain saved us. That terrible storm that destroyed our house, that scared Madison into calling. That rain led us to you. To safety, to to family, to this life. I spent 15 years seeing rain as a threat. But now when it rains, I'll remember it brought us home. As if on cue, summer rain began falling, pattering gently on the patio stones. Charlotte lifted her face to it, smiling, no longer afraid. "Come on," Benjamin said. "Let's get inside before we get soaked." "Actually," Charlotte said, holding his hand, "let's stay just a minute. I want to remember this. Us. This moment. This beginning." So they stood together in the rain, not running but welcoming it. Two people who'd lost everything and found each other in the wreckage. Behind them, Madison and Bella slept peacefully in beds truly theirs, in a home truly theirs, with a father who would protect them always and a mother who'd fought impossible odds to keep them safe. The rain fell, washing away past shadows, making everything clean and new and full of hope. Benjamin Carter understood what Victoria had known all along. Love doesn't end when people leave. It transforms. It finds new expressions. It reaches across time to bring together the people who need each other most. Madison's rain call had been answered, and in the answering, everyone had found their way home.